Now, tensions in the Middle East are driving oil prices higher, and the Philippines, as a net importer, is feeling the pressure, with Iran threatening to close the Strait of Hormuz, a choke point that moves a fifth of the world's oil. Global markets are on edge. The Marcos administration is rolling out fuel subsidies and reviving talks of a strategic petroleum reserve to protect the country from future shocks. The question now is, will the Philippines keep scrambling every time there's a global crisis, or will we finally build a shield of our own? Joining us now to talk more about this is Camarines Sur 2nd District Representative and Camarines Sur Governor-elect LRay Villafuerte. Hi, Congressman Villafuerte. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning.
Okay, let's get to it. The Philippines imports a lion's share, 95 to 99% of our oil, making us very vulnerable to global supply shocks. So the need for that relief is apparent, Congressman. That said, what exactly is the Strategic Petroleum Reserve Plan you envision, and can you walk us through how that would work and what strategic advantage it would give us?
Well, first of all, we really need a strategic petroleum reserve. Why? We're import dependent on oil. If there's disruptions in the shipping routes of oil, conflicts in the Middle East, automatic we are affected. This happened during COVID when supply chain disruptions happened. This happened during the Ukraine-Russia war, where $180 barrel price increased. It reached $180 per barrel. No? So this will continue to happen, especially now that we have tensions in the West Philippine Sea. Can you imagine if there's a blockade? We won't have oil. So, we really should have a strategic petroleum reserve. Ideally, we should have a 90-day supply. Based on estimates, it will cost around $4 billion to set this up. If we don't have the money, let's do a 3-year plan and spend over $1.33 billion a year. At the end of the day, we really need this. Again, we are energy dependent, import dependent on oil. This is part of a strategic, multi-layered, comprehensive energy security plan. It's about time we do it. The U.S. is doing it, India, South Korea, Japan. More so for the Philippines, where, as mentioned, we are 90% oil dependent for imports.
Yeah, we are so vulnerable to this. We need a comprehensive energy security plan. Congressman Villafuerte, the Philippines consumes nearly 500,000 barrels of oil daily. How big of a reserve are you envisioning? Maybe 3 months, 6 months? What's the ideal size of that actual stockpile to meaningfully cushion us against any global disruption?
Well, ideally, according to the International Energy Agency, it should be 90 days. If we can't afford it, let's do a step by step. Let's start with the 15-day, 30, 45, 60 until we reach 90 days. At the end of the day, we should start it because we talk about this when there are disruptions. No? We talked about this when the price of per barrel of crude oil increased to $180 per barrel during the Ukraine-Russia war. Now, Israel-Iran conflict. Again, even if there's no conflict, we can use this as a strategic buying strategy. Why? When price of oil are high, we don't need to buy so much because we have a reserve. When price of oil has gone down or low, we buy to increase reserves. So this is not only part of the energy security strategy. It can also, it will not only cushion impact on disruptions, it can be a strategy for, lowering price of oil when prices are high. So again, we're also typhoon prone. We should think about this. And I would like to reiterate, the tension in the West Philippine Sea is apparent. Can you imagine if there's a blockade on the shipping route? Wala tayong oil.
Yeah, that's something to take into consideration. Now, Congressman Villafuerte, some would argue that, if we set up a strategic petroleum reserve now, while tensions are flaring in the Middle East and while oil cost is high, wouldn't that defeat the purpose? But then again, all of this depends on how long it would take realistically to put one up, to establish it and operationalize it.
Well, if you start one easily over a year, so by then hopefully prices have stabilized. But the price of oil now is actually a little lower than last year, no? Despite the disruption. No? So there's really no perfect time to set this up. The only time we should do it is now. Because if you're saying that the price of oil is very high now, it will take easily a year, 12 to 18 months to set up a reserve anyway. So by then, hopefully, prices have stabilized and lowered them. We can start building up reserves.
Speaking of costs, this could cost our government billions. You just said about maybe 4 billion, depending on how big that supply is. What are your where in terms of those cost estimates? Where would that money come from? And if the national government finances it, how do we do it? How do we finance something this big without blowing up the deficit? What would be the most realistic funding model for something this gargantuan?
Well, we can fund it in the General Appropriations Act. We can borrow money abroad. I think at the end of the day, there's so many. The government needs so many funds for doing so many things. It's just a matter of prioritizing. If you don't have $4 billion, let's set up $1 billion a year or 800 million US a year. It will take 4 or 5 years. All we need is really the political will and the commitment to do this. No, when there's a will, there's a way.
Do you think we'll have that political will in this 20th Congress, Congressman Villafuerte?
Hopefully, hopefully there's more congressmen who will support this bill. Again, it's not only the Middle East tensions. No, think in the context of the West Philippine Sea tension disruptions. Right now, China has already positioned themselves in the West Philippines. Imagine if they block the routes.
Yeah.
That's very disastrous for the Philippines.
Yeah, there's a lot to hedge against. Congressman Villafuerte, does this need new legislation or can Malacanang act on it now? Can the president
Malacanang can act on it
Yeah?
immediately, but that can be supported by legislation. Legislation is needed, for example, if you want a 3, 4, 5-year plan for budgetary appropriations. So it's clear. Let's say we want to build a strategic petroleum reserve for 40 million barrels for a 90-day supply. We can do it on a 3 to 4, 5-year budget appropriations. That's where you need legislation. But setting it up now, I think the commitment, the president can just issue an executive order in this regard, do a study, determine the location, determine how many days they want, and source the funds from there.
Mm-hmm. Establishing a strategic petroleum reserve, it seems to go against another initiative, another big initiative, and that's to go green. How do we balance both? I mean, we can't ditch oil overnight, but at the same time, how do we balance the need to take care of our oil needs now and at the same time take care of our need to go forward with going green and reduce our dependence on fossil fuels?
Well, as part of a comprehensive energy security strategy, we should be less dependent on fossil fuel. No? So we should promote renewable energy, electric vehicles. But while we're promoting that, let's admit it will take easily over a decade or more to shift to this. Right now, we're trying to promote electric vehicles for transportation, for day-to-day travel. But at the end of the day, public transport have to shift. But you have to accept the fact that we're so energy dependent on fossil fuel that it will take easily more than 10 years to shift. So what will happen in the next 10, 20 years? We don't even have enough charging stations for people to transform to electric vehicles. I'm not saying not to promote electric vehicles. We should. But while we're doing that, there should be a parallel strategy also. At the end of the day, people will not shift to electric vehicles 100% anyway. They will do a hybrid, and when it's hybrid, you still need fossil fuel. That's where the oil reserves still come in.
Yeah. Okay. Now, speaking of that oil reserve, this isn't your core. You're a lawmaker, but by how much do you think it would help reduce prices if we are able to establish this petroleum reserve?
Well, definitely, this strategy is to cushion disruption. Spikes in prices when, for example, it reaches 100. For example, in the U.S. Ukraine-Russia war, it reached over $180 per barrel. The U.S. government, in order to cushion the global impact, released hundreds of millions of their reserves as part of the global supply strategy. So it cushioned the impact. It lowered the price. in the context of the Philippines, when it reaches over $100 and you buy it only for 70 or less dollars per barrel, you can sell it at the cost you bought it at a lower cost. Then the inflationary effect of this in the economy will be huge, billions daily. So that's important. That's the strategy.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Camarines Sur Governor-elect Congressman LRay Villafuerte.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.